So I'm sitting here scrolling through old pictures of me and Eric, wondering how things went so wrong so fast. Like, one minute we're planning weekend trips, and the next, he's completely gone from my life, all because he couldn't handle me having a little fun. I'm Tiffany. I'm 27, and I'm about to tell you how wearing one dress basically imploded my entire relationship. Eric and I were together for 2 years. When we first met at my friend's housewarming party, he was this confident guy who made me laugh and actually listened when I talked. He works in construction management, and I'm a store manager at this boutique in the mall. We moved in together after 8 months, and things were really good for the first year. He'd surprise me with takeout after a long day, and I'd keep the apartment clean when he had stressful projects. We were a team. Looking back, things started changing when my friend Crystal got divorced and suddenly wanted to go out all the time. At first, it was just happy hours, but then it turned into club nights and bar crawls. I started remembering how much I loved that scene before Eric, the music, the energy, feeling pretty and noticed. It was like I'd forgotten that part of myself. Eric noticed the change right away. He tried to be cool about it at first and even came along a few times, but anyone could tell he hated it. He'd stand in the corner nursing one beer all night looking miserable. Eventually, he stopped coming and started making comments about how much I was going out. Meanwhile, Crystal kept telling me I was becoming boring and that Eric was trying to dim my light. She'd show me her dating app matches and all the fun she was having, and I started feeling jealous of her freedom, while I felt like I was becoming someone's boring girlfriend. The more Eric questioned my going out, the more I wanted to do it. What started as occasional fun became this weird rebellion. I'd post extra pictures just because I knew it annoyed him. I'd come home later than I said I would just to prove I could. Looking back, that was messed up, but at the time, it felt like I was fighting for my independence. Things came to a head when Crystal convinced me to go shopping for this club event. We found this dress that was definitely pushing boundaries. Black mesh with strategic solid panels, technically covered but definitely see-through in the right light. I bought it, but hid it in the back of my closet because I knew what Eric would say. For a couple weeks, that dress just sat there like this secret rebellion waiting to happen. Meanwhile, things with Eric were getting worse. He started calling me out directly. "Why do you suddenly need all this validation from strangers?" he asked once. Another time he said, "I'm not interested in a relationship where my girlfriend acts single whenever I'm not around." Crystal kept saying he was controlling, and that if he really loved me, he'd want me to express myself however I wanted. "A secure man wouldn't try to change you," she'd say. Those words got stuck in my head. Was he insecure? Was that the real problem? It started making sense to me that this wasn't about respect like he claimed. It was about his ego and insecurities. The night of the club event arrived, and I spent hours getting ready. Looking in the mirror, even I was shocked at how revealing the dress was. The solid panels covered the absolute essentials, but the mesh left very little to the imagination. Part of me knew this was too much, but another part felt powerful and free. When I walked into the living room where Eric was watching TV, he did a double take. "You're not seriously planning to wear that in public?" he said. "Actually, I am," I replied. "Crystal and I are going to that new club downtown." He stood up and turned off the TV. "Tiffany, that's basically lingerie. You might as well be naked." "You're exaggerating," I said, though I knew he wasn't entirely wrong. "It's fashion. Celebrities wear stuff like this all the time. Why would you even want to wear something like that around strangers? What exactly are you looking for tonight?" The accusation in his voice made me snap. "Maybe I'm looking to have fun without you making me feel guilty about it. If you were secure, you'd let me have fun instead of trying to control what I wear." Eric's face hardened in a way I'd never seen. "This isn't about security," he said quietly. "It's about you deliberately disrespecting our relationship. You know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it." "Oh, so now I'm not allowed to wear what I want? What next, Eric? Are you going to pick out my outfits every morning?" "Don't twist this," he said, his voice eerily calm. "This isn't about me controlling you. This is about you choosing to dress like you're single and available when you're supposedly in a committed relationship." It's a dress, not a relationship status, I shouted, grabbing my purse. I don't need your permission. I'm going out, and I'm wearing this dress, and if you can't handle it, that's your problem. As I headed for the door, Eric didn't try to stop me. He just said, "If you walk out that door dressed like that, you're making a choice about what matters to you, and I'll be making my own choices accordingly." I paused for just a second, feeling the weight of his words, but my pride wouldn't let me back down. "Fine," I said, and slammed the door behind me. The club was everything Crystal promised: exclusive, packed, and electric with energy. The moment we walked in, I felt eyes on me, exactly as I'd wanted. Guys kept buying us drinks, and I accepted every one, partly because I was having fun and partly to spite Eric. I took pictures all night and posted them to my story, knowing he'd see them. One guy in particular kept coming back to talk to me, Darnell. He was tall, stylish, and couldn't stop complimenting my dress. "Your boyfriend must be one lucky man," he said at one point. "He doesn't appreciate what he has," I replied, the alcohol making me bolder. As the night went on, I drank more than I should have. I danced with Darnell, letting him get closer than I normally would allow. His hands found the small of my back, and I didn't move them away. "Want to get out of here?" he asked after a particularly long song. I hesitated, thinking of Eric at home, probably watching my social media updates with that disappointed look. But then I thought about his ultimatum, about how controlling he was being, and something in me snapped. "Yeah," I said, "let's go." What happened at Darnell's place is still a blur of regret and alcohol. I remember his apartment, barely furnished like he'd just moved in. I remember kissing him and thinking it felt wrong, but pushing that feeling aside. I remember him taking off that dress that had caused so much trouble. And I remember waking up at 5 a.m., filled with immediate, crushing regret. I slipped out while Darnell was still sleeping, called an Uber, and sat in the back seat fighting tears the whole way home. What had I done? This wasn't me. I'd never cheated before, never even considered it. But I'd been so determined to prove a point to Eric that I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. When I got home, Eric was sitting in the living room, still awake, still in the clothes from last night. His eyes were red, either from lack of sleep or something else I didn't want to consider. "Where were you?" he asked, his voice hollow. "At the club," I said quickly. "It ran late and my phone died." The lie came easily, wrapped in shame. "I texted Crystal when you didn't come home. She said you left hours ago." My stomach dropped. I went to get breakfast with some people from the club, lost track of time. He stared at me for a long moment, and I was sure he could see right through me, could somehow tell what I'd done. But all he said was, "I can't do this anymore, Tiffany." "Do what?" "I just went out with friends. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're trying to control every aspect of my life." Even as the words left my mouth, I knew how ridiculous they sounded. I'd spent the night with another man, and here I was, trying to make Eric the villain. But I couldn't stop myself. Admitting the truth felt impossible. "Controlling your life?" Eric's voice was dangerously quiet. "I've never once told you what to do or who to see. I've only asked for basic respect, and you can't even give me that. That dress was not disrespectful, it was just—" "Stop," he cut me off. "This isn't about the dress. It's about you deliberately doing things you know will hurt me, then turning it around to make me the bad guy. I'm done." "What do you mean, done?" My voice suddenly sounded small. "I mean I'm leaving. I can't be with someone who treats me like the enemy." For the first time, real fear gripped me. He was serious. "Eric, wait, let's talk about this. I'm sorry about last night. I shouldn't have." "You shouldn't have," he agreed. "But you did, and you would again, because you've convinced yourself that my boundaries are just control issues." He picked up a duffel bag by the door that I hadn't noticed before. "I'm staying at Mike's for a while. I'll figure out the apartment situation later." "You're overreacting," I said, panic rising in my throat. "It was one night, one dress." "It's not one night, it's a pattern, and we both know it." He picked up his bag. "I deserve better than this, Tiffany, and honestly, so do you." Then he walked out, leaving me standing there in last night's clothes, with smeared makeup and the weight of what I'd done crushing my chest. I collapsed on the couch, too exhausted and hungover to even cry. The apartment felt immediately different without him. Emptier, colder somehow. I grabbed my phone, thinking I should call him, but what would I say? How could I fix this without telling him the whole truth? And if I did tell him the truth, would that really fix anything, or just hurt him more? Instead, I texted Crystal. Eric left. Can you come over? She arrived an hour later with coffee and donuts, ready to tell me how much better off I was without Eric's controlling behavior. I let her talk, nodding along, but I was starting to wonder if maybe she hadn't been the best influence. Still, it was easier to blame Eric than to face what I'd done. Trust me, Crystal said, scrolling through potential matches on her dating app to show me, there are plenty of guys out there who won't try to change you. But as I looked at the faces on her screen, all I could think was that none of them were Eric. None of them would make soup when I was sick, or remember which true crime podcasts I'd already listened to, or know exactly how to make me laugh when I was upset. That night, alone in my bed, the full weight of everything crashed down on me. Not just losing Eric, but the person I'd become. The dress, the club, Darnell, none of it had really been about having fun or expressing myself. It had been about pushing boundaries to see if they'd break. And now that they had, I didn't feel liberated. I felt lost. The next week was a blur of going through motions. I went to work, forcing a smile as I managed my team at the store. I went home to an empty apartment. I checked my phone constantly, hoping to see Eric's name on the screen, but it never appeared. I tried texting him once. Can we talk? His response came hours later. I need space. Just 3 words that felt like a door closing. On day 5 of Eric being gone, Crystal invited me out again. Best way to get over someone is to get under someone new, she said with a wink. The thought made me nauseous. When Crystal left, disappointed, I scrolled back through my social media, looking at posts from the last few months. There I was, in increasingly revealing outfits, in increasingly intimate poses with people who weren't my boyfriend. There were the comments from guys that I'd responded to flirtatiously, the check-ins at clubs at 2 a.m., the stories where I was clearly drinking too much. Seen through fresh eyes, without Crystal's voice in my ear, I could understand why Eric had been upset. This wasn't about him controlling me. It was about me deliberately pushing him away, testing him, maybe even trying to make him jealous. But why? Had I been bored? Restless? Afraid of how much I cared about him? I didn't have answers, only a growing sense that I'd blown up something good, for reasons I still couldn't fully articulate. That realization sat heavy with me as the days turned into a second week. At work, my district manager pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. Your numbers are down, and 2 of your associates mentioned you seemed distracted, she said. Meanwhile, Darnell had texted once. Had fun the other night? Want to do it again? But I left it unanswered, too ashamed to even look at his name on my screen. I kept posting on social media, trying to maintain the illusion that I was thriving in my newfound freedom. Pictures of takeout presented as fabulous solo dinners. Selfies with carefully applied makeup to hide the dark circles under my eyes. Inspirational quotes about growth and self-discovery. But the engagement was dropping. People weren't liking or commenting as much. Even the guys who'd been so eager to slide into my DMs when I was posting club photos seemed to have moved on to someone else. Even Crystal was becoming less available. Sorry, can't tonight. Have a date, her texts would say. I suspected she just found my post-breakup self less fun, now that I wasn't interested in clubs and bar hopping. By the 3rd week, the apartment felt less like a place Eric had recently left, and more like a place he was never coming back to. I found myself missing the strangest things. The way he'd absently rub my shoulder while we watched movies. His weird habit of organizing the refrigerator by color. The smell of his shampoo lingering in the bathroom after he showered. One night, after a particularly rough day at work, I broke down and called him. To my surprise, he answered, his voice careful and distant. Eric, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. I miss you. A pause. I can't do this, Tiffany. Can we at least talk? Maybe meet up somewhere? I need to see you. Another long pause, then, okay, but just to talk. This isn't us getting back together. We agreed to meet at a restaurant we used to go to sometimes. As I got ready, I rehearsed what I would say. How I'd been influenced by Crystal. How I'd confused freedom with recklessness. How I'd never meant to hurt him. I would apologize for the dress, for the going out, for everything except the one thing he didn't know about, Darnell. That secret would stay buried, a private shame I'd carry alone. When I walked into the restaurant and saw him sitting there, my heart actually skipped. He looked good, tired maybe, but good. He stood when he saw me, a reflexive politeness that was so essentially Eric it made my chest ache. I wanted to say I'm sorry, I said after we ordered. For the dress, for how I've been acting, for a lot of things. I got caught up in this idea that you were trying to control me, but now I see you were just asking for respect. He nodded slowly. I appreciate that. Encouraged, I continued. I miss you, Eric. The apartment feels wrong without you there. I think we could be good together again. Better, even, because now I understand. His expression softened slightly, but then he shook his head. Tiffany. The dress, the clubs, the social media, those were symptoms, not the real problem. We want different things. You want excitement, attention, freedom to do whatever feels good in the moment. I want partnership, mutual respect, building something together. Neither of us is wrong for wanting what we want, but we can't give each other those things. But I can change, I insisted, feeling panic rise again. I don't need the clubs and the attention. I don't know, going through something. You shouldn't have to change who you are to make a relationship work, he said gently. And honestly, I don't think you really want to. I think you'd resent me for it eventually. That's not fair. You're not even giving us a chance. I gave us plenty of chances, Tiffany. Every time I tried to talk to you about how your behavior was affecting me, you turned it around and accused me of being controlling. We ate in strained silence after that, making occasional small talk about work or mutual friends. It was excruciating, sitting across from someone who used to know me better than anyone, now careful and distant as a stranger. When the check came, Eric took out his wallet and put down enough cash to cover his meal and a tip for his portion. I stared at the money, then at him. Seriously? You're not gonna get this. Get what? The check. You always paid when we went out. We're not together anymore, Tiffany. Why would I pay for your meal? I felt my cheeks flush with embarrassment and anger. Wow. Real classy, Eric. A real man would at least have the decency to pick up the check after breaking up with someone. His expression didn't change. A real adult would expect to pay for their own food. But I guess that's part of the problem, isn't it? You want the freedom to act however you want, but you still expect to be taken care of like you're in a committed relationship. I didn't. I sputtered, caught off guard by the truth in his words. He stood up, gathering his jacket. I should go. I hope you figure things out, Tiffany. I really do wish you the best. So that's it? You're just walking away? We already did that part, he said softly. This was just to make it official. He hesitated, then added, Take care of yourself. Before turning and walking out of the restaurant. I sat there, staring at my half-eaten salad and the bill beside it, feeling a mixture of shock, anger, and crushing disappointment. How dare he walk out like that? How dare he make me pay for my own meal like we'd never meant anything to each other? But underneath the anger was something worse. The dawning realization that maybe he was right. Maybe I had been trying to have it both ways. The freedom to act single while enjoying the benefits of a relationship. Back at my apartment, just my apartment now, I kicked off my shoes and collapsed on the couch, scrolling mindlessly through social media for comfort. On impulse, I posted a vague but pointed status. Some men will never appreciate a strong woman who knows what she wants. Their loss. The likes and supportive comments started coming in, but they felt emptier than ever. These people didn't know the real story. They didn't know about the dress, or Darnell, or how I'd systematically pushed away someone who truly cared about me. I closed the app and looked around at the apartment that still held so many reminders of Eric. Maybe he was right. Maybe we did want different things. But sitting alone with the consequences of my choices, I had to wonder if what I'd wanted was really worth what I'd lost.